And while these walls have seen their fair share of battles, it's said that this was also the scene of another sort of encounter. A secret romance, tainted by jealousy, betrayal, and mystery. So what is hidden behind the walls of this once impenetrable fortress? July 1784, St. Augustine. Colonel Garcia Marti has arrived to take his post as the new commanding officer of the Castillo de San Marcos. And at his side is his strikingly beautiful wife, Dolores.
Dolores Marti was a young, raven-haired beauty with flashing eyes, a ready smile.
It's said that the effervescent woman is disappointed by her new life in the isolated outpost.
It was hot, it was muggy, it was dirty, and she hated the idea of being in this swamp.
As the story goes, one evening while Colonel Marti is touring the Castillo with Dolores, they run into the colonel's charming assistant, Captain Manuel Abela.
Abela was dashing, he was handsome, and he was really good with the ladies.
And a few weeks later, it's said that while poring over maps with Captain Abela, Colonel Marti suddenly catches a familiar aroma on his assistant.
The colonel smelled this sweet, fragrant scent of orange blossom, his wife's signature perfume.
Could his wife and second in command be having an affair? Soon after the colonel's suspicions are aroused, Abela mysteriously vanishes.
When he failed to show up at the fort for 2 or 3 days, people began wondering where he was.
When asked, Colonel Marti announces that he has sent the officer on a special mission to Cuba. But Abela isn't the only one missing.
Some of the ladies in town eventually noticed that Dolores hadn't been around. And they all wondered where she was.
And Marti has an explanation for that, too.
He simply replied that she had gotten ill and he had sent her to Mexico to live with her aunt.
Yet as weeks and then months go by without the return of Dolores or Captain Abela, many grow suspicious.
People started wondering why both Captain Abela and Dolores disappeared. So the rumors started flying.
What is the truth behind the strange and sudden disappearance of the colonel's wife and his young captain?
Stay, Dad.
Checking out of the Hilton shouldn't be a pity party.
We'll move you.
It's the late 18th century. According to legend, when Spanish commander Colonel Garcia Marti assumed his post in Castillo de San Marcos in St. Augustine, he brought along his beautiful wife, Dolores. But it wasn't long before rumors began to circulate that she was having an affair with her husband's dashing assistant, Captain Manuel Abela. Then one day, Dolores and Abela suddenly disappeared. So what happened to the two alleged lovers? In the weeks before they vanished, Dolores and Captain Abela were allegedly seen meeting secretly outside the fort. And as rumors about a possible love affair spread, the news may have found its way to the colonel.
That he might very well have flown into a rage and had her murdered.
But there's no physical evidence to support such an extreme and sinister theory. And because the colonel rules the fort with an iron fist, no one dares to question his explanation.
Because the colonel outranked everybody in the fort, and because he had such a hair-triggered temper, nobody would have said anything that would have set him off.
And as the years pass, memories of Dolores and the captain fade into history. And it seems the mystery of their disappearance will remain unsolved forever. Until a half-century later. July 1833, Castillo de San Marcos. Spain has ceded Florida to the United States as part of a treaty, and with it, this old Spanish fortification. And an American engineer named Lieutenant Steve Tuttle is overseeing repairs to the newly acquired structure. And one day, while inspecting the dungeon, he notices that one of its walls appears to be hollow.
He banged against the wall and realized realized that there was a fake wall.
Removing a brick to see if anything is hidden behind the partition, Tuttle comes across a shockingly grisly sight.
He saw 2 skeletons hanging from the wall.
It's said that as the officer examines the bones, he notices something quite extraordinary.
He and his men were overpowered by a rush of orange blossoms, Senora Marti's signature perfume.
So could these be the skeletons of the disappeared Captain Abela and Senora Marti? There are those who speculate that the Colonel, after learning of the pair's alleged affair, imprisoned them in the subterranean room, closed it up, and left them to wither away. But there is no way to prove this theory, and there never will be. The bones were never scientifically tested and have long since been discarded.
In 1833, when Lieutenant Tuttle found these bones, there was no way to do any DNA testing to identify them. And now the bones are gone, and we will never know who they belong to. And the Castillo will never give up its secret.
To this day, visitors to the fort claim that the faint smell of orange blossoms still fills the air. And while it may be from the flora that surrounds the Castillo de San Marcos, some believe it's the lingering scent of a star-crossed couple whose fate was sealed within this impenetrable fortress.